I have seen a lot of hate for Jurassic World Rebirth online, especially in my comments. There's been people that have been saying this film is trash, 0 out of 10 stars. But what is the box office saying? Oh. Okay. So here's the thing with Jurassic World Rebirth that I think is interesting and maybe doesn't make a lot of sense based on a lot of the people that are very vocal online and based on our critic score. Right now, critically, it's sitting at 52% at the time of this recording, and yet it has made 529 million worldwide at the box office. That is insane. And that's of course at the time of this recording. So the number that we even just showed you may be higher. You know, so far this makes it the second biggest film in terms of box office numbers for the Jurassic Park franchise. The only thing that has beaten it, and it might not be what you think, but it's Jurassic World. Jurassic World is the one that beats it so far. And you have to also consider the fact that this is happening at a time where our box office is suffering pretty much across the board. Unfortunately, the pandemic and everything messed us up to the point that a lot of people do not have income right now. The pandemic, the tariffs, and so a lot of people are not going to the movies, and also the way that we consume media has just changed where, you know, a lot of people would rather watch things on Tubi or watch things on streaming at their home, or even watch things here on YouTube, like you're doing right now. A lot of you watch me on your phone. Are you watching me on your phone right now? And the interesting thing is that although critically Jurassic World Rebirth is not doing well, the audience score actually isn't too bad for it. I mean, I went and saw it and I actually liked it. I gave it a 4 out of 5, which maybe was too generous in retrospect. I have lowered it after seeing Superman, which has changed my rankings for so many movies this year. I just went back and reworked all of them, so the end of the year videos are going to be interesting because I've had to make some adjustments. But the audience score for Jurassic World Rebirth is actually sitting at 71% currently. So when you combine that 71% with the 52% critic score, it's actually the third most like a Jurassic movie of all time in terms of reviews. If we combine the scores on Rotten Tomatoes, and of course, take this with a little bit of a grain of salt because obviously Rotten Tomatoes was not around when Jurassic Park was released, so all of the ratings that we have are very much after the fact of the release of Jurassic Park. However, this is what we got so far, okay? Are you ready? Are you prepared? Are you sitting down? Your butt's in the seat? Let's start from the bottom and work our way up, shall we? So we start at the bottom with Jurassic Park 3, sorry, JP3 Spino, with 49% critic review and 37% audience score. Whoa. For Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, that's next up when it comes to the stinkier films here. That one has a 47% critic score and a 48% audience score. Next up, we've got Jurassic World Dominion with a 29% critic score. Wow, that's pretty stinky critically, but a 77% audience score, so audiences liked it. And the thing that I also think is really interesting that I'd like to just make an observation here before we continue is as time goes on, I feel like we're seeing a lot more opportunity for this difference in the critic versus the audience score. Either, you know, there's a lot of stuff that I've seen where critics like love something and the audience doesn't, or the audience loves it but the critics don't. Sometimes things still line up, but I've noticed as our timeline has progressed here in the future in 2025 that the gaps between those two have felt like they're getting wider. I don't know if that's just me. Let me know what you think in the comments. Next up, we have The Lost World, Jurassic Park. Honestly, I just rewatched The Lost World, and I can't believe that it's this high on the list, to be real with you. When I do my tier list, I don't know if it's going to be that high, but we'll see. So this one has a 56% critic score and a 52% audience score, so pretty close. People were like, it's all right, it's kind of mid. Then there's Jurassic World Rebirth, which is sitting with a 52% critic score and a 71% audience score. That puts it in third place. Above that is Jurassic World with 72% critic and 78% audience, so those were pretty close. And then, of course, Jurassic Park, the one movie that everyone agrees is peak. It is 91% critic and 91% audience score. We're all in sync on that movie. We all love Jurassic Park. And I gotta say, I just rewatched it. Still a banger, really liked it. So what is the problem here? How is it that everyone can be saying this movie is complete garbage and yet it is killing it at the box office? How can people be saying it's awful and yet the audience score is 71% on Rotten Tomatoes? Well, not everyone writes reviews that doesn't like movies, so that could be part of it. But also, I think the real problem with it here is that some franchises are just unkillable. No matter what you do, no matter how many times we fight these dinos, they're gonna keep coming back. And the reality is, while this movie does retread a lot of the tried and true references, beats, even mirroring stills from the original Jurassic Park, the trilogy itself feels like a fossil in some ways at this point, and yet this film is not inherently offensive, I'd say. In fact, I actually greatly preferred it to Lost World. I thought Lost World was, well, we'll talk about it more on my Jurassic Park tier list when we do that. I can't believe critics reviewed it that highly, to be honest with you. I think it boils down to people would rather watch something that they're familiar with than take a risk on something that is an original IP, something that they're not familiar with, and something that they don't know. Even if they're going in kind of expecting this to be a flop, people are still going to the theater in droves to go see it. By the way, we've talked about this a few times on my channel, but this is also why trailers tend to spoil about 90% of the film, and they'll do multiple trailers and then do a bunch of vignettes, like Jurassic World Rebirth did before it came out. They released so much footage. I'm so glad that I only watched a couple trailers before I saw it because I saw it so early. It wasn't all spoiled for me, and there were certain sequences I didn't even know were coming, and I found that to be a lot more of an enjoyable experience than if I had actually seen the trailers that would have spoiled all of that for me. I think the reason that they do this in trailers now is because based on marketing research, they've actually found the more of the movie that they show you in the trailer, the more likely it is that you're gonna go see the movie. That's just psychologically what happens to people. It's probably because they show us so much of the movie that there's a lot more opportunity for there's something to draw you in and you to say, wow, well, that kind of looks, maybe I'll go see it. But then unfortunately you go see it and your review is going to be affected by the fact that you've literally already seen most of the movie through the trailer and that the best bits were all in the trailer. Something that I personally really don't like when I see a film, when they put the best moments in the trailer, because then there's I know it's coming and it's not very exciting or interesting. And if you don't believe that, this is a problem or that this is something that we're running into that doesn't make sense, where the box office is so high but people don't like it, like how does that make sense? How is this where we're at? Let me tell you about some other stats, okay? And about something that is scary that I've observed. So Lilo and Stitch, the live action remake. Now granted, I enjoyed this movie. I had a fun time with it, but it is about to approach $1 billion in box office earnings. And that's not even including all the merch that movie has sold. And I'm going to tell you right now, as someone who was in the theater, that movie sold a lot of merch. People that went to the movies were buying merch at the Cineplex, which I also feel is a crazy thing today, that it's not just like you go to the movie and you get your snacks. It's like you go to the movie, you get your snacks, you get your collectible popcorn bucket, you get your like Lilo and Stitch like ears, your little Stitch antenna ears. It's insane. It's wild. And Lilo and Stitch 2 is already in production. And that is another movie that critics also had issues with and audiences also had issues with. There were complaints about it, and yet we're about to approach $1 billion in box office earnings. So we complain about things and yet we go and watch them. And even while we have had successes from original IPs this year, people probably want to point to things like Sinners, which I've covered on my channel as well. I loved Sinners. Sinners is one of my top movies of the year for sure so far. That movie made a lot of money, but it's not even close to what some of these other movies are making, okay? Like, let's just talk about Superman. Superman, huge franchise film. I really enjoyed it. It has made $217 million in its opening weekend at this point, with me looking at these stats. And even Jurassic Park Rebirth is still doing really well at the box office right now. It's made more than what Sinners made. Sinners is sitting globally at $365 million at this point. And that's with a release and then a re-release in IMAX, I believe. So I think it got like kind of 2 releases and a lot of hype, and that's global. So it's just crazy to think that, Superman is already like definitely going to outpace Sinners. Lilo and Stitch is approaching 1 billion. Jurassic World Rebirth is over 500 million. What's happening? I don't think we're okay. What this points to is that we all say we want one thing, and yet at the end of the day, franchises just can't be beat at the box office. Rather than do something risky, people are just playing it safe and giving us the same stuff, holding our hands in films. And, you know, studios are not willing to take the risk because audiences are not willing to take the risk. I guess what I would say is just when you have the opportunity to go see something that is, you know, original, even if it's something that's based on a book, to be honest with you, if it's something that feels like it has more of an original concept, if it's not necessarily part of a franchise, I would say just try to take a risk every now and then with your movie choices and watch something that isn't, you know, a name, that isn't a brand, that isn't a franchise. Watch something that you haven't seen a trailer for. I think that that can be really fun. And while I know on my channel I do cover a lot of these franchise films, a lot of these IP films, I personally also like watching them. So I'm not saying that it's wrong of us to enjoy them, but it is important to diversify, I think, our interests. Because if we don't, what's going to happen is original IP movies, like something like Elio, is going to die out. It's not going to be seen, and eventually people will just stop making it, which would be unfortunate because I did go to see Elio, and I really liked that movie. I thought there was a lot of potential and a lot of promise in it. Even though it wasn't a perfect film, it was really fun. So hopefully this answers the kind of question of what's happening with Jurassic World Rebirth and why it doesn't really make sense right now, or where I think that's coming from. And hopefully it gives us a little bit of food for thought and a little bit of optimism in the sense that we do have the potential to change the way the box office is headed. We just need to, you know, put our money kind of where our mouth is. So I challenge all of us, including myself, to do that more. That's all I have for this one, friends. Let me know your thoughts on what's happening with Jurassic World Rebirth. Have you seen it? Did you like it? Did you not? Why did it work for you? Why didn't it? Why do you think it's doing well at the box office, despite some of the more negative reviews? And yeah, let me know your thoughts about all of this down in the comments below. I'd love to discuss with you. I'll see you in the next one. Let me know if you're a fan of either Spinosaurus or T-Rex. And until next time, friends, as always, stay nerdy. Bye! And also, if you haven't seen my stuff on Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, here's a thing that you can check out. Highly recommend.